Good morning and welcome to this webinar on using AI to enrich product data. My name is Guus van der Mond. I am from Squadra Machine and Company, and over the next 30 minutes, I will explain how you can use AI to enhance product data. Just a few housekeeping items. You can also chat, and if everything is set up correctly, you should see the option to ask a question within your browser. One of my colleagues might be able to answer it right away, but at the end of the session, we'll also have the opportunity to discuss these questions further. Please do engage, as I enjoy making it a bit interactive. I will share my screen now so I can show you what I have prepared. If all goes well, you should indeed see my screen. What have we come up with? Well, first, a little context. This is the third in a series we've done so far, starting from the fall. If you want to watch the others again, you can. We have a YouTube channel. It has a slightly cryptic name. We will come up with a different name for it, but you can at least watch the others as well. At the end of October, we held a webinar about generating product text with AI. And in September, we also gave a webinar about generating product text with AI. AI-supported supplier onboarding. So how do I get data from my suppliers? They are essentially in Dutch, but they are also translated into English and possibly into French, German, and Italian as well. And indeed, we do all that with AI. So if you ever want to hear me speak fluent Italian, that's also possible. Okay, well, I'll start with a short introduction, very briefly about myself, but especially about the company. And then I'll particularly focus on what the problem is with product data when it's insufficient. I'm talking about both the attributes, meaning the product features and the images, and then how can AI help with that? As I mentioned, I will conclude with a segment of questions and answers, if there are any. Now, about Squadra Machine in the company, we focus on the application of data science and AI. And we do this primarily for suppliers, wholesalers, and retailers. We also began as a project organization where we look at the challenges our clients face and how we can use our knowledge and capabilities in AI and machine learning to assist them. And at a certain point, we started receiving similar questions, and we thought, let's create a standard solution for that. And that became our PowerSuite solution. It is a SaaS solution, software as a service, that operates on top of PIM and e-commerce systems. And in that, we especially focus on what we call smart product data management. So ensuring that the product data reaches a good level, and also e-commerce, ensuring the products are findable and that they convert well. We are also part of the Squadra group, which you can find more information about on the internet. And if you look at the clients we work for, you'll see some names here, both from the supplier side and retailers, but also others like Marktplaats, Bol, or standardization organizations such as ITEM and GSM. Let's quickly dive into the content. Our PowerSuite addresses the issue of product data quality and ensures it is easily found. We achieve this with 4 main modules: Power Class for classification and confrontation, Power Improve for enriching the data and improving data quality. We're going to show some aspects of that today where we use it. Power Text, which was the topic of the previous webinar, is about generating text, and Power Relate, which we will cover later, is about detecting product relationships such as variants or accessories. Well, ultimately, this allows you to save costs and indeed also generate that additional revenue. Well, let's take a look. Suppose this is my product detail page, and I notice somewhat disappointing sales where I actually expected a bit more. Then I start to think, how can that be? Let's take a closer look at what's on there. Well, what is always needed to sell a product? Well, I need a product title, check, it's there. I need an image, check, that's there too. I need product features, well, yes. 2000 watts, yes. That is, of course, quite limited if it only mentions 2000 watts for a device that likely has much more to describe. Well, if you ultimately want to sell a product well, it is very important to provide a good description of your product, including, of course, all the features that the product has. So, for example, in this case, it has a thermostat and offers frost protection. Well, what are those dimensions? I see some in the title, so to speak, in terms of dimensions. But if I search on this web shop and I want a heater that is smaller than 65 centimeters, this one will never show up because this information is simply not available to filter and search on. Well, that means I'm definitely going to miss out on some things. Now, if we look a bit more in detail, I see that there is an image. Well, that's already nice because without an image, it becomes a bit more difficult to sell such a product. But then I wonder, okay, can I also use this in the bathroom or can I use it in the office? So it would have been helpful if I had a few more photos that provided more information on where I could indeed apply it. Well, furthermore, we see that the third and fourth check marks are also not set and that the product description is missing. Now, I could say, okay, I'll create that. In the previous webinar, we also demonstrated that this can be done quite well automatically with AI, but it does require that I have enough attributes to write about. So if I only know 2000 watts, then it will also be difficult to generate a good text for that. So in the end, those features are important to be able to generate a good text. The same applies to relationships. This one doesn't show a timer. Maybe there is one that does have a timer. Or perhaps this one is available in black as well as white. So I don't see the other product relationships, the variants here, or any potential accessories like an extension cord. So I could easily place it somewhere else. This means that the product data, the attributes, and the images are very important to ultimately create a successful sale. It is indeed important because you want to be easily found within your own shop. You want the ability to search and sort by dimensions, color, or anything else. This means that you definitely need to have that information. All research also shows that having a good product description is absolutely crucial for achieving those conversion rates. If you just have too little information about the product, customers do not always have the confidence in what they are buying. They are not sure if it all fits their needs. So yes, the chance they will buy it is indeed significantly smaller. 80% of customers do a bit of online research before purchasing a product. So that means it concerns not only online sales, but certainly also offline sales in stores, both. And 90% of customers find product content to be extremely important and ultimately crucial. That's one of the most important things they look at before buying something. And you can see that reflected in those abandoned shopping carts. People add it to their shopping basket, but ultimately don't proceed with the purchase. This is also because they still have insufficient confidence about whether it's truly the right product. It's also important, especially in certain industries, to prevent returns, because if it's not entirely clear what you're buying, it might not completely fulfill expectations. Well, what kind of specifications were included? That is the chance of returns and potential claims, which could still be somewhere, is naturally greater. And as I mentioned at the end, it is also important to just have that product data complete, because then we can do some really cool things with AI, such as those texts and relationships, for example. And additionally, you also see that increasingly more parties like marketplaces are saying, yes, we want the product data to meet certain minimum criteria, which means that I need to have all these mandatory attributes filled in. If you don't have these, then your product simply won't be listed online. You see it on marketplaces, but you also see it with other organizations, for example, with wholesalers and retailers who say, yes, we have a certain rating mechanism. We say suppliers who deliver their data well, they have a certain status, gold or silver or whatever it may be. Each organization may have different criteria, but this also means that if your reputation is good, you are indeed providing that product data correctly. And it also ensures that your products are displayed. It helps you rank higher within the buy box. So yes, it is extremely important. Well, another thing that hasn't been highlighted much, but we've discussed here about the practical results. We've asked several clients, what does that do? At the moment you look at improving that product data, what does that mean? Here is a client in the electrotechnical field, a large worldwide player, saying that, okay, we have noticed that by adding those product attributes, improving that product data, we ultimately have an increase of 22 to 24%, depending on which country in the add to cart feature. So people say, well, this is interesting. We are indeed going to add it. Well, that's quite an increase, which is really great. And importantly, It also concerns returning customers, because you naturally want customers to be satisfied and come back to you next time. When you indeed provide good information and, of course, good service, delivery times, that all comes with it, but also good information, then the chance is much greater that customers will indeed return. Now, I'd like to hear from you about how things are currently going with you. So here's let me see if I can start that here. I'll quickly lose my screen, which is quite handy. Where is the button? Then you have it. I think we should skip that poll for now. Well, we'll skip that for now. Maybe one of my colleagues can start it, because I would like to know, okay, do you currently have your product data in order? I'm specifically talking about those product attributes and images, or is that not the case? Well, we can review that later on. Okay, what are we going to talk about then? How can AI help? In 3 areas. First, enriching those product attributes. We can utilize alternative sources, which might also be provided by a supplier, such as a textual description, a title, an image, or even a PDF file. We can extract all kinds of information from these. We can then use that information to supplement those attributes. The same applies to looking on the internet. We essentially use the internet as a vast repository, so to speak, where all kinds of information are available to enrich your product data. Well, the second point is that we can also look into certain data quality issues. So are there things that might be incorrect? Are there attributes that are wrong? Well, we can detect these with the help of algorithms and thereby improve them. And as the third topic, also improving the product images. Well, this is also important because images are becoming increasingly significant. Fortunately, with AI, it is also becoming easier to create beautiful images or to process existing images, so you ultimately get a better result. Well, first, regarding the first one, enriching those product attributes. As I mentioned, we can indeed look from various sources, such as a title, description, a PDF, or an image, from which we can extract information. This means the AI essentially looks for where it can find those images and characteristics, and then it checks if it can map that data with your data model. For instance, if I extract a feature from a text, it doesn't necessarily mean that you have the exact same description of that feature in your data model, or even the exact same value. Suppose I extract the color, and somewhere it says azure blue. In your list of colors, you have red, white, and blue. Then azure blue should be mapped to blue. Well, that's something that the AI also handles in the background. Well, that's very convenient. This is also an important method. It might be that the supplier themselves do not have all the data. And then we can take it a step further by checking if we can retrieve the data from the internet. Then we use the EAMG TIN code, or possibly the supplier's product number, along with the supplier. We then essentially start a background search, essentially just Googling. The system then looks at what it can find based on the product ID. Now, with the help of AI, we will check what those results are to determine if it's a product detail page. If so, we automatically scrape the data from there. Then the rest of the process involves mapping it with the data model. Well, these are techniques that are now possible thanks to AI. And I would like to show you how we have integrated them into our solutions. A recent addition we've made is the ability for the AI to review the extracted information itself. You could review as a user, but we've also now basically trained the AI so that it can perform that review on its own. This means that the overall quality level has improved significantly. So what does that look like? Here you see an example. I have a simple piece of text here, in this case, a title, NAR K05GV, etc. PVC cable gray, 3G1, and we can indeed see that the AI is smart enough to identify some of those components, for example, recognizing that the color is gray, but also that the number of conductors is 3, indicated by the 3G, and that the nominal section of the conductor is 1 millimeter. So this is information that the AI understands by looking at such a piece of text. Now, that text can indeed be the title, but it can also be a longer description created by the supplier, from which you can extract all sorts of information. Well, very powerful. I can also teach it myself, because I can indicate that if it says Gerrit BD, it means something else. Then I can add that in this way so that I can continuously make the AI smarter. The same applies to approving and rejecting, as this essentially provides feedback to the AI algorithm, allowing it to learn a little more each time. Well, we can apply the same principle, but then on PDF files. Now, I have an example here of a PDF file related to a somewhat technical product. Well, then I indeed see on page 114, there is information in the table about my product, because on this line, this product ID indeed appears, which matches what we have here. And it has indeed detected that the number of poles and the rated current, that is 4 and 16, and it has neatly indicated that again in the system. So in this way, you basically get presented with, well, based on the inputs, in this case text and PDF, I have made these proposals for the attributes. Well, we can take another step from a slightly different angle. Now, this is something you'll encounter during the Christmas season. So also some things to hang in your tree. Well, based on the photos, we can extract a number of properties. In this case, it extracted that there are animals, that animals are also part of the design. It gathered this from the photos. Well, if you look closely, it has identified 20 items. It's not that it counted them, but there was another photo included. And in that other photo, the number 20 was also mentioned. So it can also extract information from text that appear on photos. So it can recognize both the external features of a photo, and that goes quite far. Nowadays, we can determine if a dress has long sleeves, short sleeves, what type of color it has, what the design is. Those are all things we can really deduce from a photo. The same applies to more technical products. Okay, then let's take it a step further indeed, as we'll now look at what I could find on the internet. Well, you see, indeed, this is an example of it. Everything here with a blue icon has indeed been taken from the internet. Now, actually, by clicking on it, which applies to the others too, a pop-up opens and I actually get to see the site where it was sourced from in this case. Well, then you indeed see that it extracted the 30 milliamperes, recognized it and matched it with the correct attribute, and then immediately translated it to, in this case, 0.03 amperes. So this means that it essentially searched the internet and extracted relevant information from there. Well, this is really powerful. We've also implemented this for several clients by now. And you can see that, of course, it depends a little on your product range, but once you have a range that is also sold by other parties, it goes to the supplier's website or to competitors and looks at what information it can find there. Of course, it's possible that there are errors on the internet. So yes, indeed, it could be that those 30 milliamps are incorrect and that it's a mistake because it states error on this site, but then you could potentially also take that over. That's why we always say we want to have a human in the loop to do a final review. But we also see that actually 90 to 95% of what we extract is indeed correct. Well, this is also convenient because it means that I can also look here, for example, at another case where we say, well, that the supplier wants to deliver data to a specific platform. Now, in this case, it's represented in Excel based on what we observed from your products. There are a number of mandatory attributes that you are still missing, and we have automatically filled those in for all these products. If these are further approved, they can also go online and indeed be offered for sale. So that's a nice step that has been taken. I'll quickly move on. I see it's already past 4 o'clock. Now, regarding data quality, we can use algorithms to check about certain errors. For example, I have a product, a cleaning agent, where the title says 250 milliliters, but in my PIM system, it says 100 milliliters. One of the two is incorrect, so we need to address that. Furthermore, we can also check for outliers to see if there are any values that might be very odd compared to all other products. For instance, I see here a certain width of 2.36 meters for a bathroom faucet. That's indeed strange because all other bathroom faucets are between 15 and 20 centimeters. So this is something that is likely incorrect. Probably the comma is not in the right place. So we can also identify other errors, data that seems to be filled in. It might seem fine. We have very complete data, but then you might see a 999 or a dash or NA or whatever. Well, we can certainly detect those too. Additionally, language errors, spelling mistakes, and essentially any other data issues that exist can also be configured for removal. Here's an example of what that looks like. So indeed, I have a certain sync unit with a depth of 4.65 meters. That can never be the case. So we can easily identify such issues. Then the third, in the area of images, there have been quite a few developments recently, and we have some really nice cases. So I will quickly go through them. One of the things we can do is take existing images and create new ones from them. Why is that useful? Well, for example, I want to have an image of a specific product per category on my web shop to indicate precisely what is in that category, essentially to make it visually more appealing. But I don't necessarily want to use existing product photos, because then one supplier might say, hey, why did you use the other one? And then, yes, it might give the impression that you are favoring certain suppliers. So based on existing images, we can actually create a new image of a non-existent product that clearly indicates what kind of product it is. In this case, with those miniature circuit breakers that hang in the meter box, well, this one looks like it, but it is a non-existent product. The second point is that what also still frequently occurs, I have several images available, but which one should I place first? So what can we do? We can actually classify the images based on the image itself, meaning we say, okay, all these images are categorized into product photos, impression photos, usage photos, and into diagrams and schematics. And thereby, we can also say that the first one, well, that is then the photo that serves as the primary image. So we want to place that one first, and the rest will follow in this order. Now, the next use case is that we can easily upscale and downscale images. So for example, if I have a certain image and I want it in a higher resolution, nowadays with AI, we can do that quite well and with high quality. It accurately fills in the missing pixels, and you can see that clearly on the image. So that looks good to me. And also when we say, I have a certain image, but I actually want it to be displayed centered. So the AI essentially searches for the correct image, naturally depending on what the task is, to ensure I ultimately get the appropriate image. Another one, which is somewhat simpler. We have a certain photo, and I actually want a cutout photo, so I want to remove the background. That is also perfectly possible. Well, the next one becomes a bit more interesting, I think, because here I have an isolated product, but I actually want it the other way around. So I say, yes, this soap dispenser, I actually want it to be on a bathroom shelf, in a bathroom in a certain style. Well, then we can generate those backgrounds using AI and indeed ensure that the product is placed, including the lighting and shadows. So that means, well, I find the bottom left one quite strong. So you can indeed say, okay, now I have the product here, and I essentially generate my backgrounds with it. Well, that's convenient, because if I had to do this the old-fashioned way, I'd need to build a bathroom, set up a small studio, hire a photographer, and then have them photograph all those products there. It takes a lot of time, it's very expensive, and it's not scalable, but this way you can make it very scalable. Well, you see, this also works well for other products, as you can see in this case, including a view looking outside, which is considered quite effectively. Well, a step further is considering whether I can project my products, in this case, clothing, onto a photo model. I mean, without needing an actual photo model or a photographer anymore, doing it automatically. And that's it. And the latest development, it's progressing quite rapidly, is indeed possible. So we can just say, okay, based on that clothing, that isolated clothing or other products, I just generate a model, and I can choose whether it should be a larger size, which skin color, what height, what age, what hair color, etc. Because these people don't actually exist. They are all just generated. And that indeed yields really good results, as you can see here. Well, that can also be done for other products. So here, for example, a running shoe. Well, I can actually use AI to kind of generate. I can generate images in which the product appears, either the standalone product on a person or in a close-up. I can specify all of it and thereby create truly beautiful images without needing to go outside or involve photographers with interiors or models. It can all be done automatically. Yes, they are quite impressive examples that it does really well. And I've added a few more here to show what it can all mean. Well, and a nice development that comes with it is that we can actually say, hey, if this is possible, then we could also say, imagine I have a picture of a product, or perhaps just a product, but I also have a picture of that customer. So let's say I ask the customer to take a photo, send it to us via a message or whatever. Then we could say, well, how does this outfit look on this person? And that is entirely possible. Well, amazing technology. We also tried it on our own marketing hero, Thomas. So we had him put on this sweater and it all works perfectly fine. These are really cool developments. And I think they will truly change the way we shop in the near future. Well, I'm going to try again to see if I can start that poll, but for some reason I can't seem to manage it. Not now, so I really don't know why I can't do that. So here's the question again. What I wanted to know is, okay, now that you've seen it, do you think, oh, great, we want to get started with that? Or, well, it's interesting, I want to know more about it, or, well, nice, but not for us at the moment. I don't know if my colleagues are able to start the poll, and if not, then I would like to hear the results later. Well, that's about it. We're already approaching the time. I want to leave some time for questions. One thing I also wanted to mention is that we have a special promotion. It's almost the 5th of December, and we have come up with a Synthesas promotion. So you can put out your digital shoe and then you'll receive a little gift from us. We're keeping what exactly it is a secret for now. But if you're interested, then check out this link, theposi.ai/Sinterklaas. So I hope you'll participate in that too. All right, then briefly. The Q&A. And yes, I also can't find it here. So that's really quite unbelievable. Look, here it comes. Well, fortunately, I finally got it here. And I see a number of questions have indeed been asked. Let's take a look. Now, what happens if conflicting information is found online? Well, that's a very good question. It can indeed occur that multiple sources are found where, for instance, if I'm looking for the width from the internet, searching for a chair's width, and one source says it is 40 centimeters, while another says it is 30 centimeters. What we do is we look up to 5 sources at the moment, which means I have 5 answers, and then we go with a majority rules approach. So if I find 4 answers that say 40 centimeters, then we'll go with 40 centimeters. If I have a majority saying 30, then we base our decision on that. So that's essentially the choice we make. Ultimately, it's possible to store all this information and have it optionally validated by a user, but at this moment, that's how we're handling it. Thank you for the question. Let's see. There are some questions about the costs. I won't discuss that here, so I'll get back to you personally on that. That seems more convenient. Can we also generate product codes? I'm not quite sure what that question entails. What exactly is meant by that? If it's about GTIN codes, that's something that falls under GS1's domain, so we don't handle that. You would need to manage those kinds of product codes through other means. There is another question about, let's see, I've just covered that people who are enthusiastic about the possibilities, that's certainly great to hear. Let's see, I can see quite a conversation here. What are the requirements per product group? Indeed, you see that different buyers have different requirements. So, for example, if I say I am delivering to Bol, they have a list of mandatory attributes, and Amazon has another list of mandatory attributes. Yes, that's right. We do see that quite often. What we usually do is create a sort of common denominator, or how do you call it? The set of mandatory fields for both parties is added together to provide an overview where all the required fields for all customers are displayed in one screen, allowing us to enrich the correct fields, yes, about the images. That is really super cool. I also see some people who are very enthusiastic about it. Is the AI solution also capable of generating rules on its own based on product data found on the internet? Or do these data rules always have to be created manually? I think it's about whether we can automatically recognize features even if they are described differently. The style, I mentioned the example of Azure Blue and Blue earlier, that is something the AI can handle on its own. And where it cannot, you can indeed teach it. But there is already a basic intelligence to automatically handle a number of things. And of course, there are always exceptions that cannot be dealt with. Well, I think those are the most important questions for now. Let's see. Well, the polls were indeed not entirely done, which is a bit unfortunate. We'll handle that differently next time. I'd like to thank you for your time. In any case, I hope it was useful. Keep an eye on us because we have more webinars planned for the future. I hope to see you again soon at the next webinar. If you have any other questions, please feel free to contact us. We are happy to help. And you will also receive my contact details. Thank you. And I hope to see you again next time.